Hi friends, thanks for joining us. Today we have a very special episode. We are covering flash systems. Check this out. In this corner, we have the Synology FS6400. In this corner, we have the QNAP TS-H290FU. So we're going to take a look at both of these systems. Now, you're probably thinking, well, they're both 24 bay SSDs, right? That's what we're looking at here. But yes, that's what it looks like. However, these systems are very, very different. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to go over why these two systems are very different from each other. And not only because it's obviously two different brand names, but because the technology itself is very different. And that's what today's theme is not all flash systems are created equal. These are, even though they look very, very similar, they're actually very different. And we're going to cover that. We're going to break it down and side by side and show you the differences and some of the similarities between one and the other. Okay, so again, very different, very different. Okay, so we're going to break everything down so you guys can decide which of these flash systems is best for you. Check this out. Now, let's start by looking at the front of the system and the height of each of the systems. The Synology is 3.48 inches, where the QNAP is 3.46 inches in height. Now, let's look at the power indicators, all right? On the Synology, it's on the left-hand side. On the QNAP, it's on the right-hand side. You can also see the SSD LEDs on the bottom of the Synology. On the QNAP, they are listed on top of each SSD. Now, let's look at the NAS system on the rear. We'll start with the Synology and the dual power supply that's on the left-hand side. Next to that, we can see 2 Gigabit Ethernet connectors. And right next to that, we can see 2 10 Gigabit Ethernet connectors as well. Next to that, we can see 2 USB 3.0s. Next to that, we can see our SAS expansion ports. You can also see 2 PCIe open ports. Now, let's look at the QNAP, where the power supply is on the right-hand side. Next to the left, we're going to see 4 25 Gigabit Ethernet ports. Next to that are 2 USB 3.2 ports. And next to that is 2 2.5 Ethernet ports. Next to that are 3 open PCIe ports. Here, we can see both systems from the top. We can see that the QNAP is 20.9 inches. The Synology is 28.5 inches. Now, let's look at the width. On the width, we can see that the QNAP is 18.94 inches. And the Synology is 28.5 inches. Okay, now let's take a look at the supported RAID types. For the QNAP, we see RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, RAID 6, RAID 10, RAID 5060, RAID 10 plus hot spare, RAID 6 plus hot spare, and RAID 5 plus spare, and RAID TP. Again, we are looking at ZFS RAID, so Z-RAID. Now, for the Synology, we have the RAID F1, Basic, JBOD, RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, RAID 6, and RAID 10. Okay, let's look at the hardware side by side of both flash systems. We'll start with CPU. The QNAP comes with an AMD EPYC 7302P 16-core 3.0 gig processor that can turbo boost up to 3.3 gigs. The Synology comes with a dual Intel Xeon Silver 4110, 8-core 2.1 base that can turbo boost to 3.0. System memory. The QNAP comes with 128 gigs of RAM. The Synology comes with 32 gigs of RAM. Maximum memory. The QNAP maxes out at 4 terabytes of RAM. The Synology maxes out at 512 gigs of RAM. Gigabit Ethernet ports. The QNAP does not have Gigabit Ethernet ports. The Synology has 2. 2.5 gig Ethernet ports. The QNAP has 2, and the Synology is optional. 10 gig Ethernet ports. For the QNAP, it's optional. For the Synology, it's standard, and it comes with two 10 gigabit RJ45s. 25 gigabit Ethernet ports, the QNAP comes with 4. With the Synology, it is optional. 40 gig Ethernet ports, both for the QNAP and Synology, are an option. 56 gig Ethernet ports for the QNAP is optional, and for the Synology, it's optional as well. Drive compatibility. The QNAP can take 2.5-inch U.2 NVMEs. The Synology can take 2.5-inch SAS HDDs and 2.5-inch SAS SSDs, as well as 2.5-inch SATA SSDs. Now, let's look at open PCIe slots. The QNAP has 3. The Synology has 2. Redundant power supply? Yes to both. USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports? For the QNAP, that's a yes. For the Synology, that's a no. USB 3.0 for the QNAP, that is no. And for the Synology, that is a yes. So now we're going to take a look at some performance numbers. We're going to start with random read IOPS 4K, and this is aggregated connectivity. We're going to look at the Synology first. The Synology comes up with 476,411. That's in read. Let's look at the write. The write speed came up to 226,141. Very impressive. Now, let's take a look at the QNAP. The QNAP on the read came up to 471,714 IOPS. On the write test, they came up with 204,612 IOPS. Next, we're going to talk about the OS of each of the flash systems. The Synology comes with Synology DSM, and as we know, it comes with Synology High Availability, Synology Office, Synology Mail Plus, Virtual Machine Manager, Synology Security, and Synology Snapshot Replication. The QNAP comes with QUTS Hero. That's a ZFS-based file system. It comes with comprehensive backup, virtualization and containers, file synchronization, enterprise cloud backup, fiber channel support, and cloud gateways. Okay, let's review the pricing of each system. This is the MSRP of the Synology FS6400, $11,532. The MSRP for the QNAP TS-H290FU -732P 12/8 gig is $7,999. Now keep in mind, both of these systems are very unique in its hardware. Okay, so we're not comparing apples to apples. Remember, not all flash systems are created equal. Just like we talked about in the beginning of this video, not all flash systems are created equal, right? What's important is not which is the best flash system, but which is the best flash system for you. Very important. And if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us at sales@simplynas.com or stop by our website. We have a lot of content there, www.simplynas.com. And again, thank you very much for tuning in, and always like and subscribe. Take care.